Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. So Bitcoin is strong today. Some of the alts are pulling in a little bit. Some trying to hold up, some better than others, but Bitcoin is certainly looking really good. And I want to go over some of the updates here, some charts. I want to talk about follow-up based on the last update I did a few days ago. And if you missed the newsletter yesterday, I will go over what I posted there as well. But we're seeing some good action overall, so let's get to it. So this is the 4-hour chart of BTC on Bitstamp. And what you're looking at here is a good break of the downtrend that it's been in over the last couple of days. You can see that happened here today. What I really like about this, however, is volume. Like I say before, I am a big proponent of volume. I believe it shows a lot of conviction behind the move, and we saw some good volume on this breakout today. And this happened to actually be a confluence of a couple of resistance points that were broken. Over the last couple of days, we had a small little bit of a resistance here and around that 97, 9800 level. And when we broke out of that downtrend, we also broke out about this horizontal resistance level, and so that's a good sign to see that. Now we've also here in this little area, we're building a little bit of a inverted head and shoulders type of pattern. There certainly was a case to be made for that. You can see that here with the head being down at the lows over the weekend around 9300, and then the right shoulder followed by some good volume that came in as it broke out above that resistance point. So all around looking pretty good here today. Now let's back up a little bit here. My last update, I was talking about a couple of key levels I was watching on the downside if the 9600 level didn't hold, and it didn't hold over the weekend. We saw a pretty good rally attempt, but it failed as it continued to hit that wall in the declining 10 EMA. And so backing up a little bit here, you saw that rally attempt here. We broke above it here but failed again. And so the levels that I was looking at here, if you guys remember, was this first level here, right around that 93, 9400 level. I mentioned that in my last video, and we came right to that area this weekend. And then below that, I was looking for some pretty good support in and around 9K, which was the top of that last cup and handle base we saw before the big run up to 11.8K. So we came right to that 9.4K level, and volumes really started to decline as we got closer to that. We started to see some pretty good support over the last couple of days, and with this reversal, what I was looking for was volume, and we saw that. Now today we're seeing some good follow through. We're pausing a little bit. If we zoom in at the 30-minute here, you can see just kind of rallies. Let's the moving average catch up. Another big rally with some good volume. So let's go back to the daily chart, because I want to project this out. I want to show you guys how high this could go, some of the levels of resistance we need to pay attention to along the way up, and some levels to look at on the way down should it decide to pull in here. So really quick, on the way up, there is a pattern that is playing out, and many of you guys have already seen this. There's a lot of people talking about it, and so that's that big inverted head and shoulders pattern that's playing out on the BTC daily chart. And you can see here we're in the midst of forming a potential right shoulder here with the neckline breakout around that mid 11K range. Now I did send out a newsletter yesterday and talking about this and some of the levels I'm looking at here, and so let's go to that here real quick. And so here's the chart that I sent out yesterday, and this has a little bit more of a slanted neckline with the breakout actually being lower at around 11K. And you can see here from the point I sent the newsletter out, that was a 75% upside target using a measured move from this technical pattern. Now if you go from just the neckline, that's still a 52% upside target, and that target was pointing to around 16.9K, 17K, which just happens to be that prior resistance point here. And so let's walk through that here. A couple of ways to do that. When you're doing these measured moves on these targets, you take the depth of the head in this pattern and then you project that out. So if you take that and you say from the breakout point, that takes you from this point up to around 17K. And a good way to validate that is, does this point make sense at all? Is it lining up with a fib retracement level? Is it a resistance point, anything like that? And in this case, it happens to be this big resistance point, which was the prior secondary rally following the top at 19K. We had that big pullback. We rallied right up to around 17.2K. And then we had that big shakeout. And so that's the upside target on this pattern. Now, will it go straight there? Absolutely not, right? There's not going to be a move straight from the breakouts up to that pattern. More likely, and most often, the way it plays out, if this plays out, is there's going to be a series of pullbacks. We could rally right up to the neckline, which is around 11.6 right now, and then maybe pull in and then break out. And then at that point, we'll start testing these different resistance levels and most likely pausing there. The next level up would be just under 13K, and you can see that's this floor here, which gave way and then caused the some of the big selling to accelerate here a couple of weeks ago. And so that's going to be the next resistance point. It's really going to be a zone, so it'll be, that area around 13K. So that's where I would see the next rally, and then from there, if it breaks out, right, we could go up again another leg, and the next one would be that 15K psychological mark, and then from there. And so could we see 15,000 before the end of March? With this pattern playing out the way it is and with the volume that I'm seeing, it is certainly very possible to see that. That's a big number. That's almost 50% run up from the current levels. Now, could we see 13K? Absolutely. I think we got a good probability of seeing 13K. We've got a shot at seeing 15K before the end of the month based on this pattern. So let's take it one day at a time. We don't want to go all in just because we think we can go 15K. And if you're trading this like I am looking at these clues as they present themselves. For example, near the top, I got out of the way as it looked like the move had run out of steam. And here towards the low, started taking some entries, and now full swing ahead, I believe. And we could see another pullback. Now, speaking of inverted head and shoulders patterns, I've been seeing these show up a lot here, and they're good reversal patterns. And so we could see another one here as it runs into resistance here around this 10.4, and that actually would be a healthy pullback. So if we could see a pattern form like this with a run up, maybe another pullback, take you down to around 10K, maybe 9,800 or so, and then breakouts, that would still be a smaller inverted head and shoulders pattern on this 4 hour, but would still support the broader daily pattern playing out. And so that's what I'd be looking for. We could see a pullback. If we do, those are the levels you want to see hold. You don't want to see it undercut this breakout point from today, which is around 9,800. And so I'd like to see it hold above that point if we see a breakout or a pullback. And more likely, I'd like to see it hold 10K. Does it need a pullback? Not necessarily. It could just go sideways here, pause, let the moving average catch up, and then break out above 10.4 up to the next level, which is 10.8 going into 11K. And so those are the levels I'm looking at on the downside as well as the upside. But all around, I believe the momentum has shifted. The volume is there to confirm it. The RSI, the MACD indicators are also confirming it. They're not shown on this chart, but when you look at the technical aspects, it's lining up, and it looks like that pullback and that test of support around 9,300 was the dip that we were looking for, was the higher low that we wanted to see on that daily chart. And we'll have to give it a couple more days to confirm, but so far it's looking pretty good. So then the big question is, if Bitcoin sees a rally of that magnitude, what happens to the altcoins? Now, if you guys were around in September, October, and early November, following that big low in September, Bitcoin staged a pretty nice rally, and the alts at some point started to lose traction versus Bitcoin and really underperformed in October and early November. And for that period of time, there was really no better place to be than just in BTC versus the alts, because they significantly underperformed. And so that's a concern right now. The Bitcoin dominance level is still relatively low in the high 30s right now. It's around 38%. And so the question is, are the alts done going down versus BTC, or will we begin to see them start holding up at least and maybe playing catch up and outperforming a little bit? So here's the chart of Ethereum on Binance, and you can see the RSI hit some pretty low levels here over the last couple of days before staging a pretty good rally. Now this rallied right to that 10 EMA, and it's now pulling in, and so we want to see how this plays out over the next couple of days. Will it hold? Will it make a higher low? So many of these names are looking very oversold versus BTC. We look at some of the big names that had run up over the last couple of weeks early in the year. Cardano was one, had a massive run and has since pulled back and given up almost that entire move following this breakout above this base here. And so here we are. It's been going sideways for about a week now. Now, is that the low, or are we just pausing and we're going to see another leg down? Now, RSI is oversold as well. So I'm looking at a lot of these names. Will they break out? Right here's Tron, very similar pattern, pulling in a little bit, trying to turn the corner, coming off of some pretty low RSI levels. You looked at Ethereum, we saw Ripple doing something similar here, pulled back, giving up most of that move up from earlier in the year and giving a little bit of a base now here. It's trying to hold support at this level, but I'd be cautious until we see some upside confirmation. For now, I'm leaning heavily on BTC, but I'm also looking for those early signs of those breakouts on some of these alts. NEO was trying to rally here earlier today. You can see NEO showing some pretty good strength, a lot of volume coming in, and so that's what you want to start looking at. Icon was another one, starting to round the corner, seeing some volume coming in, pulling in, but a little bit lighter volume. And so I'm starting to pay attention because a lot of these alts are starting to put in these signs of maybe we're finding a low, or we're getting pretty close to finding a low versus BTC. There are some other ones that are strong. I mentioned OmiseGo in my last video. I'm still liking the way this is setting up. If you look at the big picture on the daily chart, it's putting in a very nice base, looking like it wants to break out here. So that's the level I'd be watching on this one. And there's several others that are holding up relatively well versus BTC. And so between those, and if we see some strength in Bitcoin, then there's going to be some good trades to be made here. So I'm going to be paying attention to how some of these play out. And in my next newsletter, I'll post a lot more charts on setups as I see them forming. If you want more information on that, you can go to noteinvestor.com/training. I do some video courses to learn more about technical analysis. And on the homepage there, you can also sign up for the newsletter. It's free. Just plug in your email address and you'll start receiving those. So all around, the market looks pretty good, guys. I'm feeling a lot better following that pullback. We needed that little bit of a dip. Now we want to see some more follow through the upside. But keep an eye on those levels I mentioned in Bitcoin. It's looking pretty good. And we'll see how these alts start to do here over this next week. That's going to be it for tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.